Going live. Going live. Okay. We're live on one camera, live on another camera, and live. Okay, you guys.
Hey.
We're doing this.
Hi.
Yay! Okay, we had some technical difficulties. Hi, thanks for joining us. So these lovely ladies are kind of my guinea pigs today because this is the first time we're going live on multiple channels. We're live. Hello, Amazon. Hello, Instagram. And hello, Facebook. We are live on multiple channels. And we're live today because today is the day that the Embrace carrier ships. So it's ready to go. This is a doll, you guys. I don't have a real baby. I have a doll. But I do have the Embrace baby carrier on. And all day today and then throughout the month, we're going to be sharing content really focused on the 4th trimester and mothering the mother and nurturing that kind of 4th trimester period. So to kick off our Embrace launch, I brought in two of my favorite ladies, Brandi and McLean. What I'll do is I'll throw it over to you guys to introduce yourselves real quick, and then we'll dive in. I'm going to do some weird things over here, you guys. So I might be getting up and like highlighting things. Hi, everyone. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll be jumping on, like checking questions and checking comments. But I do have the Embrace carrier on. It's that cozy newborn carrier, like out of the womb and right into your arms. So McLean, let's start with you. Just a few minutes about who you are and what you do.
Great. So hi, I'm McLean. My business is Mother the Mother, so I'm really all about nurturing the mom after you give birth and on into motherhood. Because as we know, it's not just that first couple of weeks. It's forever. And really, I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm such a Ergobaby supporter. I've used it with my 8-year-old. We use the same carrier, like within like 4 families. We all use the same carrier. And then with my 2-year-old, we have a new one, which we wear every day. So yeah, I'm a postpartum doula. I got into this work after the birth of my first child. That's my kind of main focus. But then I also now moving into motherhood coaching as well as clients come back and that new phase of motherhood. Like now who am I? Yeah. What am I doing with my life? Where am I going? I love working with pregnant mamas also with nutrition, yoga, meditation, but I don't do the birth as Brandi does as like my work. Yeah.
Which we'll talk about when we get, because the difference between a birth doula and a postpartum doula, I have to say, my daughter's just turned 9. And the one thing I would have done differently was I would have had a postpartum doula. And
we didn't know.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I didn't know. So that's why I am so excited about this work. And having women like you on to talk about that. So, Brandi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Brandi. I'm a birth and postpartum doula. I'm a mama of 3 boys. I am the creator of Not So Private Parts, an online platform for folks to talk about stuff. And yeah, what else do? I do stuff. I create things. Yeah, and I help moms and birthing people, transition and become better and feel good.
I'm just adjusting camera stuff here, you guys. Sorry. We have 3. I'm going to take a picture and post it later because it's kind of amazing. Yeah. So actually, my first question was going to talk about the 4th trimester, but starting with you, can you tell us about what a birth doula is and what a birth doula does, and then will you talk about postpartum and maybe kind of not necessarily the differences because it's. Well, no, maybe it's not obvious. Yeah. Talk about the differences.
Some people really don't know.
You do both, right? Okay,
yeah.
So start with birth and a little bit about what a doula is.
Yeah. So a birth doula basically supports a birthing person in transitioning into parenthood. So usually what I do while someone's pregnant, I'll walk through it with them, like what their like ultimate birth would look like. Right. Whether it's medicated, unmedicated, or hospital, epidural, whatever. Right. C-section elected. I just kind of walk through everything with them to make sure they feel safe and they feel grounded and that they are informed, and that there's a lot of informed consent.
Right.
And that decisions are just being made around them.
Yeah.
And they don't know what just happened, because if you're not careful, that can happen,
Right.
especially if you're in a hospital setting where all these decisions are being made and things are being thrown at you, and then there's also fear there.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, you've had a baby, but it wasn't the birth that you wanted.
Right.
And then of course you have that other thing where people are like, well, at least you have a healthy baby.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
like, so I try to make birth as non-traumatic and to feel safe.
Right.
That's my gig.
I just want to like
Yeah.
snap and support all of that.
So then
Yeah.
what about so that actually brings me to, talk a little bit about a postpartum. I know you're also a postpartum doula,
Yeah.
but for me, I remember going home, and I got home and I was like,
Yes.
Yeah. Now what do I do?
now what? What do I do? I mean, my birth doula was amazing, and she actually now is also a postpartum doula. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't, I was like, why did they send me home?
Yeah.
And expectation. I mean, fear and expectation.
That part.
That's another thing that could be a thread in this.
Yeah.
Totally.
But
something on your that just on the camera. I'm still learning.
oh, jeez, something went wrong. Please log in again. Ooh. Okay. Well, wow.
I can keep talking.
Okay, keep talking, and I'm gonna step off camera.
Well, one thing that I just want to piggyback on what Brandi said with the birth is that, really looking at ourselves and our bodies as women as one big part throughout our whole life. So the more support you have during your birth, you're setting yourself up that much better for postpartum.
Yeah.
So it's not, either or do I need, if you can do both is crucial.
Yeah.
So I really came into this work because after I had my first, who's now almost 8, there was just like crickets. You get home and you're just like, okay, I did all these classes, all the books, all this money into my birth, which is very important because it's a huge rite of passage as a woman and for the baby. And it's a day, it's a day of our life.
Yeah.
It's a huge day,
Yeah.
but it's also, when you've had a child, you realize there are many, many days to motherhood. So my goal is really to support women after coming home or after their home birth and helping them trust their intuition and themselves as a mother. Because I also think with all this education, which is so positive, but it also can get us very stuck up in here and not in our bodies and really our groundedness as moms, knowing what is best for our own babies. And we all need support. I mean, people have been doing this for thousands of years, being circled around, having their aunties, their moms, their grandmoms, their other kids, their sisters all around us. And so for a lot of us that live in cities without our families, we have to create that support for ourselves.
Yeah.
That's why I got so into postpartum. I kind of fell into it kind of by accident. I was a yoga teacher and nutritionist and meditation teacher, and then I was like, I just want to start helping new moms, and then I realized that was like a thing to be a postpartum doula. So here I am.
I love it. Speaking of postpartum, I'm going to pop in here again. Hi, popping in, still dealing with, but
Live.
let's talk. Live is live,
Live
guys.
is
Live is live. Speaking of postpartum, can you guys tell us a little bit about the 4th trimester, and also maybe touch on some of the first 40 days traditions, and maybe your work with other women, but also, you're pretty fresh out of it. I mean, Jupiter's 10 months, but so both your personal experience and in working with other women, what is the 4th trimester and kind of the first 40 days?
Yeah, so the 4th trimester is just like any other trimester. I mean, you're basically incubating. So whereas the first 3, the baby is inside and you're incubating in that way, 4th trimester, you and baby are incubating. I like to think of it as in the house, in a cocoon. For me, it's funny, with all 3 of my boys, I had different postpartum experiences. With the first, Jax, who's about to be 13, I did not know anything about a 40-day anything. I was trying to hurry up and get to Target super quick because that felt right to me.
Right.
In fact, I took...
and where were you? Were you in Tennessee at this time?
I was in Tennessee. And in fact, I went so far as to take a road trip. with a 6-day-old baby. Yeah,
Interesting.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. I took a road trip with my 6-day-old. And looking back now, like, I would so tell myself, like, no, like, that's a horrible idea. You're still bleeding, for one, from an open wound. Like, that's one thing, you know. But then also, like, that, it doesn't make sense. So, and then with Jedi, I didn't know anything about a 40-day anything either. John, my husband, was doing all the things and running around and being tired. And I didn't know there's a such thing as a postpartum doula. Didn't know that either. By the time Jupiter came around, I was a lot smarter. And I basically, anyone who wanted to help, who volunteered to help, by that time I had definitely some birth worker friends that were like, hey, do you need support? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be smart this time. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Even if I don't know what I need them to do, yes. And I did the whole 40 days thing. I stayed in the house. I only went out when I absolutely needed to. Like, I went to the chiropractor, I think. But that was it. I did nothing. I stayed in. I let people take care of me. I rested. I ate all kinds of good food. And
Does someone cook for you?
You know what? Yeah. A lot. I had some postpartum folks come and cook. And it was really awesome because just comparing all 3 births, I believe that I felt more like myself quicker this time by basically sitting my butt down than I did with my other 2 births, which were very like, hurry up, get back to everything. Go, 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 go. This one, me being intentional about my self-care, had me back way quicker. Totally. Way quicker. So,
even though you were 13 years older.
Even though I was 13 years older. Yeah. I actually felt even better than when I first got pregnant.
Yeah, me too.
Which sounds crazy.
No, but it's true. But that is the potential of this, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, I felt more like myself. I felt better just by being intentional and saying, sit down. You have nowhere to go. I almost turned off my phone. I got a landline. I really did.
I love that.
And just by doing that, literally, by 3 months, I was like up, cooking, doing all the things. And I never did that before. I think with Jedi, it took me at least a good year and a half to feel like myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love hearing that.
Yeah.
While you were talking, I feel like you said something the other day. We had another Embrace panel we'll be posting soon. But you said something about, like, talking about the first 40. What did you say? The first 40 days sets up the next 40
yes.
Yeah, so if you can really honor the first 40 days tradition. Yeah. So the quotation is the first 40 days, then what's the word I want? Kind of affects, but it's a deeper word. Sets you up for the next 40 years of life.
That's so really powerful.
Yeah, I read that before, and
it's really, so it's like, it's not even just, you're not being selfish, first of all, like, let's just end that story. Yeah. But you're really, it's crucial for the longevity of your body and your mental health, because if you're taking care of yourself now, that's going to get you through your menopause. And so, like, really looking at, and I think for a lot of us to really hear that sounds insane, but, like, it's really true. It
actually makes sense.
It really does.
It makes so much sense.
Something that you said, which I want to just highlight for you moms that maybe don't know this or haven't given birth before, when you birth your placenta, that is a flesh wound. So she mentioned flesh wound. We don't think about that, but you literally have a flesh wound. And, like, if your husband had a flesh wound, you wouldn't be like, yeah, can you be changing those diapers tonight and cooking and running to the store? Like, that is actually what just happened. Yeah. So really honoring that.
I think if people thought of it like that, because I think because most of us bleed, you know, like, because we see blood every month, we're not weirded out by it, you know, postpartum. But if we really thought, like, it's not a period that you're having. It's literally you're bleeding from an open wound. Like, if we turned you inside out and you walk down the street, people would be like, hey, so you should maybe take care of that.
You should maybe get that.
Did you get shot? Like, with a bazooka. What happened?
Can just go through your body. So.
Which brings us to my next question, though, and this is something we were talking about before, and we've talked about this too, self-care. And, you know, if you were walking down the street with an open wound, you wouldn't think twice about self-care.
No.
But let's talk about self-care in the
Yeah.
4th trimester, and
Yeah.
and we were talking about, you know, how you can include your baby in that too, and
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, and what we were talking about earlier today is, you know, with that term self-care, it's kind of become this like she thing or kind of a marketing tool.
you have
And
the privilege.
do you have the privilege? Do you have the money? Do you have the support? Do you
Right.
have the time? And there's so many ways to really own it for yourself. A lot of DIY free self-care. And it's actually just changing the way we look at self-care. It's not looking outside of us.
Shifting perception.
Shifting. Yeah,
Yeah.
completely shifting perception. Like, it doesn't have to be going to the spa or a mani-pedi
No.
or an exercise class. It's really about, in this moment, right now, how can I regulate my nervous system? How can I bring everything down? How can I take this 3 minutes and meditate? Just turn my phone off, close my eyes, just come back to myself. Like, that can do wonders. Like,
Right.
literally 3 minutes can shift your entire
You guys,
day.
we meditated while we were waiting for the
Yeah, and
technology
it's just-
earlier today.
I mean, I get it, you know,
Yeah.
because I have 2 kids. My youngest is 2. I work almost every day. I just moved houses. You know, it's like life is very full and awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, my meditation practice right now a lot just is even driving with mantras
Yeah.
or having 3 to 5 minutes in the car. Like when I parked here, you know,
Yeah.
just having that moment of those couple of minutes to myself to like clear my vessel, you know, pray or whatever. You know, my practice is prayer to my higher power that what I share is going to reach someone that needs to be heard, you know, to hear it.
Right.
But so I think self-care it's great if you can do all the big things, and it's great if you can only do the little things because they add up over time. You used the term
Micro moment. Take a micro
moments
moment of
throughout the day.
mindfulness.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes even for me, I mean, I have a 9-year-old. I'm a single mom. I have a 9-year-old. So sometimes sometimes the self-care actually is changing my attitude and reframing things. I get to do the dishes. I get to turn the water on, and the water that comes out is clean.
Totally.
I get to open the refrigerator.
It's that
and there's
gratitude
food.
piece.
It's the
Yeah.
gratitude piece.
Yeah.
That's also
Gives me
self-care,
chills.
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
that's also remembering, like, here we are, we're able to feed ourselves, eat, you know, maybe not take a shower in the 4th trimester, but whatever it is, like, sometimes that is the self-care.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other day we were doing a training with a baby carrier, and it wasn't a doll, it was a real baby. And someone on our team picked up the baby, and Sarah, who's our head of customer care and also does education, she said, before you touch the carrier, just hold the baby and just take 10 seconds to connect. And it was super powerful. 10 seconds. Just 10 seconds, hold the baby before you think about putting the carrier on. And, you know, you were saying too, like, self-care sometimes is just putting the baby in the baby carrier and going for a walk around the block.
And that, especially in that 40 days, like that skin to skin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's regulating us also. It's not
Yes.
just for the baby. It really regulates our systems. It's nature. I mean, that's what we've done for thousands of years, is had our babies on us. So that's why I'm such a huge carrier fan, is you can have that coziness. I mean, I used to like nap with mine. You know, you can pile yourself up with pillows, and baby's so happy being
You
cozy.
can get one of those. Okay, in the 70s, you guys, it was called The Husband.
Oh,
There's a pillow that literally has these arms and it sits up. I got one of those from a thrift shop. And so during the 4th trimester, I just sort of would sit
So
like
good.
this. And I could also, it was actually easier to nurse as well.
Yeah.
But it was, I
I
think
had
it's
the
called,
snoogle. I think mine was the snoogle.
I don't know what
The
it's called
snuggle.
now. I know that the husband is not a correct term, you guys. Please
husband.
don't. But
They
that's
have
what it was
one
called
of
in
those
the
big pillows
yeah.
you sleep with.
Exactly. I know actually
Yeah.
Motherly is coming out with a pregnancy pillow that you can
That's
also
cool.
use to kind of prop yourself up.
Yeah. I
But
love those things.
totally.
Yeah.
But you said something too about, you know, deepening your intuition, and I remember I went to a attachment parenting. I think I told you this. I went to I say this in like every live because it really set things up for me as a mom. But there was there's all these experts, and they all had their books, and he walked. It was Gabor Mate. Look him up if you don't know him. He's amazing. But he walked onto stage and he said, you know, here we are, we're all experts up here. We all have our books for sale out in the lobby. You can buy our books. But when a parent comes to me for advice, I tell them, look in the mirror. Everything you need is right here. I'm like, right here.
It's
Right here, down here.
Yeah.
So maybe what we talked
So
about
true.
that a little bit. What are some of your kind of ways that you can connect and like help moms really trust themselves? Because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
It's the fear and the expectations.
Well, this might sound really weird, but like one of the things I always tell parents is you're still here.
Mm.
And look at your parents.
Yeah.
And sometimes really look at your parents.
Right. Yeah.
Like, look at them.
Right.
Uh-huh.
All of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
even if you're still here in spite of.
Right.
Like, there's something that you can look in there that they did right.
Right.
And so I think just trusting that, I mean, the fact that we have way more books and way more information
Right.
coupled with that, you know, just trust that. Because, I mean, what I've seen, too, is like, there'll be this book and this book and this book, and they'll all contradict each other.
Mhm.
And then parents don't know whether they're coming or going or what's happening. And so
Right.
I always tell folks, like,
Yeah.
you're still here.
Yeah.
You're here.
Right.
And so just trust that. Like, you know, it may be different than what this person's saying in the book, but they don't know your baby.
Mm-mm.
You do.
Right.
And
You do.
reading a lot of books doesn't make you a good parent.
It does
You know,
not.
if anything, it can really, and what I see with my clients, it's creating so much
Yes.
unnecessary anxiety
Doubt.
Fear.
and doubt.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my God, if I do this, but that person really believes that way and it worked for them, you know, and it just becomes this thing. And it's like, okay, shh,
Yeah.
like, let's just come back to yourself, come back to
Yeah.
your baby.
What feels right?
What feels right?
Yeah.
And then you can always course correct. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I thought that felt good yesterday, and then today's a new day, and
Right.
that's not working anymore.
Yeah. And each kid is different too. Because
Oh,
what
yeah.
you'll do for one kid,
Yes.
it's like the next kid, it's like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
nah.
not working.
yeah, nah, that is not going to work for this person.
Right.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
yeah.
you're still here.
What are some ways that mamas in the fourth trimester, you know, and also we kind of touched on this earlier, hormones, you guys, hormones.
It's
big.
It's big. It's a thing. It's real, you guys. It's real. But what are some ways that mamas can prioritize themselves and nurture themselves during this period?
Well, I mean, I'm into every kind of self-care. Like, I'm not a person that has guilt around that or shame. I come from a long line of women that were able to take good care of themselves and did. I mean, my grandmother used to wear lotion, gloves, you know, the hairnet, like everything at night. And her skin,
Amazing.
my great-grandmother, she died, she was 98, and she was like wrinkle-free. And it was natural. It was not from facelift.
I
So,
love it.
whatever. Sorry, I digress. But the biggest thing for me is just like body oiling
Mm.
is huge.
Mhm.
It's not a lot of money. It's just take your bath. You can either oil before your bath or shower, or before or after.
Could it be something as simple as coconut oil?
Yes.
Olive
yes.
oil?
Yes. Oh, dude, coconut almond is really light.
Yeah.
The abhyanga I do, the oil massage is sesame because it's really thick.
Mm.
So you can kind of experiment. What I love for really cracked postpartum feet, for you mamas, you know what I'm talking about, you can do castor oil and
Mm.
socks,
Yeah.
which is incredible.
Right.
That's a really easy one. Then you can get into like the fancier medicinal oils.
Mhm.
But so oiling is just one that's like super simple, really getting in your head and your scalp, your scalp, and like really rubbing in. It just, if you think about the first 40 days, it's like you're a raw nerve. You're very vulnerable. You're very
Yeah.
open. You're vata. So it's everything we're doing is trying to like coat the system
Mm.
and oil, slow down, good fats, the warm soups, teas, nut milks,
Mm.
healthy fat you're eating, and literally like putting on your skin. The other big one that's so simple, which is awesome with the carrier, is walking.
Yeah.
Not for like exercise,
No.
but just getting out, getting a little fresh air with the baby. Not long walks. You'll know if you're overdoing it because you'll start bleeding more. So
Yeah.
just like super simple. You're like, yeah, that
Yeah. Yeah.
that's real, but it's your body giving you feedback.
Right.
And I
Listen
don't,
to your body.
you know, the first 2 weeks, I'm not really into walking. But certainly as months progress, like walking is just, we've been doing it forever. And I feel like it really is the healthiest exercise, and you're clearing your mind.
Yeah.
And you're literally like moving meditation with your feet.
And kind of to your point, you know,
Yeah.
even if your parents didn't
Yeah.
practice self-care, there's
Yeah.
still that line
Yes.
of our ancestors and their higher selves
Yeah.
that are there.
Yeah.
You know, we've
Yeah.
been birthing babies for millions
For a really long
of
time.
years.
Yeah.
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 And, you know, that's another thing to remember.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't, you know, there's help out there. So maybe
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
That's another. I feel like sometimes, we're living a little isolated from each
Yeah.
other.
Very.
Yeah.
How can a mama really ask for help? I mean, you talked about it a little bit,
Yeah.
but what are some ways? We've done it for some of our friends,
Yeah.
starting the meal trains. But what are some ways that mamas can
Yeah.
ask for help?
So one of the things that I did,
Yeah.
really, really smart this time, to the point where if it weren't for the fact that I'm really done having children, really, really done, my postpartum was so sweet
Yeah.
that I sometimes am ooh, that was fun.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
I would say we did this thing it was a blessing way. So we had the baby shower, but beyond the baby shower, we had another little gathering where it was just a few folks and they would bring food to freeze.
Yeah.
So,
That's a great one.
yeah, it was already pre-packaged, ready to go, family-sized food. And then for my friends who couldn't really cook, cooking was not their forte,
Mhm.
I kind of made it very clear, don't experiment on me. You're good. Grab up.
Yeah.
Postmates.
Yeah.
You don't have to cook, just give me that.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah.
That gave everyone a chance to kind of pitch in, do it, be a part of it. I will go back to this. You asked about self-care postpartum. One thing I would say that goes under the whole part of self-care is boundaries.
Oh, good
Yes.
one.
That's a really good one. Because what I've seen, because you're so raw, because you are a big,
Mhm.
gigantic
Mhm.
nerve,
And hormones.
Mhm.
Mhm.
family and friends can mean well. They can say, oh, maybe the baby's not hungry right now, but your brain will process it as my baby doesn't need me, or my baby, whatever. I think boundaries are a good thing.
Yeah.
So if you have that friend who is a lot, maybe they should do another job,
Right.
postpartum. Maybe they should be in charge of maybe the meal train where they're
Organizing it.
using their energy that way as
Right.
opposed to them actually being around you.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just wanted to add that in there.
It's such an important one.
I think, I love that. And I tell, friends who, my friend's about to have a baby, what should I get them? Don't get them anything.
Yeah.
Just maybe volunteer a
Yeah.
couple times a week and go do their laundry. Go do their laundry.
That would be so-
And maybe
Yeah.
take the laundry
Yes.
and go do it at your house.
Yes.
And then bring it back.
Then bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is such a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be able to do something like that for
Yeah.
someone. And our society is getting a little bit farther and farther away from those sorts of things because
Yeah.
doing somebody's laundry is actually intimate.
It's
It is.
very intimate.
It is.
Very intimate. But what
It's very intimate.
a gift.
I know.
Yeah.
What an amazing gift to be able
Yeah.
to do that for someone, or even hold the baby. I really want to take a shower.
Totally.
Yeah.
Someone told me that before I had my first baby. They're like, you don't have to look at me. You don't have to talk to me.
You don't have
Just
to talk
hold
to
the
me."
baby while I take a shower. And I didn't understand that. I was
Right.
like, thanks, okay. And then
No,
when I
for
had it, I
real.
was like, oh my God, that is the greatest gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
And I
take a
think
shower.
something I always talk to, I'm so glad you brought that up, is talk to my clients about because when I say who's coming and they rattle off all these people, and I'm like, okay, well, great, but let's really look at that and who's coming and really helping you
Mhm.
and
And adding to the
digesting it and
space.
adding to it, that you don't have to do anything. And sometimes we're so excited, we want to share the experience in our baby, but if you even have friends, I won't even get to the whole family thing, that's another discussion, but even friends that are up here and so excited and just la la la, you're literally such a raw nerve that you can't handle it.
No.
You're gonna kind of use all your energy expenditure on that person,
Yes.
even if it's encouragement and happiness.
Right.
So really, putting those people off for a couple of weeks, maybe putting everyone off for a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
or the full 6 weeks, and owning it. And now, I send my clients a PDF on the 40 days so they can send it to their people.
Yeah.
And it's really it's not offensive. We're not trying to exclude anyone. It's creating this bubble for us to heal and get breastfeeding going, healing from the birth, bonding as a family, and then we're here and we're ready,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking, we're sort of shifting gears here, but something you said made me think too, bonding as family, but also when a baby is born, a mother's born too.
Yeah.
And that whole idea, we talked a little bit about it, about matrescence, of how kind of the birth of a mother. And, I think a lot of pregnant women who've never had a child before, your identity shifts.
Yes.
And those first 40 days are a time to really like get to know the new you.
Totally. So you have the physical healing aspect,
Yeah.
and then you have the mental and emotional. And sometimes for a lot of women, that's actually the bigger one. And everyone under the sun is asking, "Oh my God, how are you? How's the baby?" You know, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's like you can be so happy, and not every woman is so happy. Like
Right.
that's one
Yeah.
thing first. That's a whole other
conversation.
conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, even if you are totally happy, loving, everything's going well, the breastfeeding's going well, the healing's going well, all of that, it is still a massive shift. So then if you add any of the other components, it's just a lot.
Right.
So really allowing yourself that time to rest, that time just to lie in bed and stare at the ceiling,
Right.
and really own where you are, because it is a massive shift. And
Right.
your partner's going through their shift,
Right.
and you're both going through your shift together.
Yeah.
And then if you have other kids, that's its own kind of sometimes grieving process.
Yes.
You know, because you're really letting go of what was to allow space for what is now.
Right.
So it's a lot.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
Acceptance. I mean, I feel like, you know, again, talking about, you know, don't read all the things, blah, 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 don't listen to everyone's advice. But there are, you know, there are women who've come
Yeah.
before you, and there's so many
Yeah.
resources and help. And, you know, sometimes just even thinking about mantras, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
accept where I am right now. This too shall pass.
Yeah, and it does. You
Yeah,
know,
it
everything
does.
does. The good always passes and the bad always passes.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's all of it.
Right, right. What about, talk a little bit about skin to skin, and, you know, and, because that's something that I kind of love about the Embrace, is that you can skin to skin. Can you talk a little bit about skin to skin? And, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny. This goes a little bit into intuition.
Yeah.
When Jedi was born,
Yeah.
I knew about skin to skin, but I didn't really like study it
Right.
per se. But I remember, it was a heat wave. It was August.
Yeah.
So I was shirtless.
Yeah.
And putting him just on me with the carrier
Yeah.
felt good.
Yeah.
And it felt right.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
yeah, so I think, like, it's awesome.
Mhm.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, I still am like, oh, Jupiter, come here.
Yeah.
Wrap a little sarong around me and, like,
Yeah.
you know, put him really close.
Yeah.
Feels so good.
Right. It's the oxytocin.
All of the
It's
oxytocin.
the
All of
oxytocin,
it.
and I mean, that's like,
And it's a mood booster.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a
exactly.
mood booster. I mean, anytime you put a baby on you, just that close, and that's for any parent, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's the birthing parent or not, like, it just puts you, it raises all the stuff. I mean, oxygen and just.
Yeah, and like in the Kundalini lineage, like if your baby has a fever, you just do skin to skin,
Yeah.
no matter what the age,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Well,
And
the science
Yeah.
behind that is
Yeah.
there's lymph nodes
Yes.
in women's bodies that regulate baby's temperature. I mean,
it's amazing.
that's amazing.
That's
It's an
crazy.
incredible, you know,
Symbiotic.
symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
And even my 2-year-old, every day, she comes over to me. She lifts up my shirt, like I'm on the couch. She lifts up my shirt and just put her head on my belly and
Yes.
cuddle and just
Yeah.
like put her, you know, face in my skin. And
Yeah.
it's just like, it's so comforting. It's like
Yeah.
her touchstone every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love it too.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, the last thing, just, we weren't necessarily going to talk about this, but only because you just got back. You know, this isn't necessarily a topic of this conversation, but talk a little bit about, like, reconnecting with your partner. Because I know you just got back from
Oh,
getaway.
honey.
Oh,
With your baby.
wow.
With your baby.
Really?
I did. I brought him along because, you know.
Because he's a baby.
He's a baby.
Yeah.
The next year. Leave him home. Bye-bye.
But what are a couple things, like,
oh my
really,
gosh.
you
it's,
know?
It's so needed. My husband and I, we went away to a cabin, and it was like minimal.
Yeah.
Like no TV,
Yeah.
no internet, we
Yeah.
were in the woods. And it was just beautiful just looking at each other.
Mhm.
I think sometimes people think that it has to be this like romantic getaway. A lot of times when you're breastfeeding, especially if you're breastfeeding, you don't really feel in the mood to really do anything.
Right.
You're, you know, the hormones
Hormones.
just totally just take a deep dive.
Yeah.
But just like holding hands and just looking, connecting
Yeah.
with each other. And even skin to skin, even if you're just
Totally.
Right.
like that, like it feels good.
It does.
It feels really good. And I think for us, I mean, just going away with our baby, I mean, it was awesome.
I mean, granted, Jupiter's 10 months,
Yeah.
but that's still something you can do in those first 40
Take a
days.
staycation.
Just staycation in a different room, maybe.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Lock yourself in a room.
And babies sleep a lot.
Yes,
Oh,
they
yeah.
do.
So that's something else
Take
to
advantage of
consider.
it.
Like, take advantage of that time because they're sleeping a lot. So if partner's around or even working close or like baby's asleep, can you just come home for 2 hours so we can just cuddle? Like we don't even need to talk.
lay
I'm
in
so
bed.
tired. But just cuddle and like spoon and just or even hold hands. Like holding hands
Is wonderful.
can be so romantic.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all this like again outward stuff or buying stuff
and
or like
it
the fancy
still
restaurant.
releases
It
oxytocin.
does. Yeah.
I mean, just that simple act.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know?
It's the little like and the little things mean more. You know.
It's kind of like micro moments for yourself, micro moments with you and your baby, micro moments
Totally.
you know, with you and your partner.
And it keeps forever. I mean, like, life doesn't slow down after you have children. Like, let's just put that out there.
Right.
And so even, like, now I find with my husband, if he just walks past me and, like, touches the lower of my back, you know, or, like, caresses my neck or whatever, like, that can sustain me for a day, you know?
Yes,
Sometimes,
it
like,
does.
that's all you have time for.
Yeah.
So it really does add up.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it's like a bank almost, too.
Yeah.
It's
like
a spiritual, emotional bank account, kind of.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a lot. It's
No,
like that.
does not take a
for us,
lot.
that little trip, like, it'll fill us up until the next one.
Right.
Totally.
You know?
I mean, it's the same thing with your own self-care. It doesn't have to be the big massage or the fancy dinner. It's just the little, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think about that even now as a mom of a 9-year-old. Like, you can't pour from an empty cup.
No, you cannot.
You can't pour from
You'd
an
be
empty
so
cup.
resentful.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
And just to say that too is like, so as baby gets older, you know, because we went on a big trip and baby was almost 2. It's also like the little things sustain you, but then prioritizing the partnership when you can.
Right.
That can be 5 years for some people, like me, 10 years for some people. That's a couple months for some people.
Right.
But just, you know, saving money so you can do that. Even one night away can be huge.
Oh my gosh.
You know, or like a 12-hour or something. So just also doing what you can, but prioritizing it.
Right.
Because it trickles down to the rest of your family.
Absolutely. And lowering, I mean, that's the other thing too, like lowering your expectations around what that looks like.
Yeah.
You know?
Doesn't have to be Hawaii.
Exactly.
No.
It doesn't.
No.
Staycation, you know, walking to the park together.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's all of my questions. Did I miss anything? Did I forget anything? We talked about skin to skin. We talked about. Is there any last parting?
Oh, you know what? One thing I wanted to say that when you brought up that we've been doing this for, you know, thousands, millions of years, like so, it, you know, something just came into my mind that birth is sacred, but it doesn't have to be precious because I also think we put this like that everything has to be like bubble wrapped and like a certain way, and I think a lot of that's just our medical system and our society. But like we know how to do this. It's really almost like unlearning to get back to our roots.
Yeah.
And you have this. You know, I really believe that every woman is with her child for a reason. And so just trusting that, like this little soul came into you for a reason.
So, I love that parting thought. Do you have a parting thought for us?
I love what you said. I mean, I think the 4th trimester, it's really powerful. I think for me, I can only speak for myself. I can tell the difference. I can tell the difference between this time around and the other 2.
That's a really valuable experience too, actually, because I only have one, and you have that perspective of having had multiple children, and you can see the difference between one postpartum period and another postpartum period. And I think that's super powerful.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
It's something about practicing like intentional self-care, not just because I think too like there's no other way. Like you're not going to just fall into it. Like you're not going to just fall into like, oh, I'm sitting here on the couch and I'm taking care of myself.
Right.
You have to literally oh my gosh, would you look at that?
Yeah.
And no children are asking me anything. Like, I mean, children are selfish.
Yeah.
They
should be.
As they should be.
Developmentally appropriate.
Exactly. As they should be.
As
They are
they
going
should
to ask
be.
and ask and need. That is what they're supposed to do.
But you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. So knowing that and expecting that means you have to constantly be intentional about making sure that you're pouring into yourself. So
I love that.
yeah.
I love you both.
Love you.
And I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad you were
Thank
able
you.
to join us. Thank you all for
Thank you
joining
being
us.
here.
And be sure to give us any of your fourth trimester postpartum tips as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we're gonna end.